Chester County History Center Library presents History and Haunts, a special series that takes a look at some of Chester County's spookiest topics and traditions. Through a careful lens on the past, we'll explore ghostly sightings, folklore, and legends that help shape some of the supernatural lore of our region. So settle in and join us as we journey into the eerie echoes of Chester County's history. Most people know about the Jersey Devil, a winged monster of New Jersey's Pine Barrens. For nearly 3 centuries, a legend circulated about a creature born to one Mother Leeds in the Pine Barrens, a beast with wings, hooves, claws, and a cry that could echo through the cedar bogs. But we're not here to discuss New Jersey. During the 1930s, it seemed Chester County had its own brush with strange creatures. Local newspapers reported on a screaming beast spotted by farmers near Coatesville, Westwood, and Downingtown regions. Tonight, we're digging into Depression-era folklore, blended vernacular, and the ways local legends blur the line between history and the uncanny. In February of 1939, reports of strange, screaming beasts weren't just coming from the Pine Barrens. They popped up in places like Chester County. Local papers from the era tell the story that one Sylvester Scott, a farmer out near Coatesville, claimed to have seen a creature with a long neck, a tiny head, white flanks, paw-like feet, and a leap like a deer while he was fertilizing his fields. He and other neighbors reported that they also heard it screaming in the night, and Scott noted that his dogs wouldn't follow when they saw it running across the field that day. The Daily Republican ran breathless accounts, and Scott was sure it wasn't the same monster spotted in Downingtown 7 years prior that crawled like a monkey. He was also sure it wasn't the same creature with red eyes that had been seen hopping around like a kangaroo, also in Downingtown. As an aside, just what was happening out in that region of the county that made it a hotbed for cryptids and the supernatural? We'll talk more about this later. As the story gained steam, local voices tried to calm the panic. One William B. Irwin wrote into the Coatesville Record and compared the Westwood sightings to a 1915 scare in West Brandywine Township, where farmers thought a panther was stealing livestock. Before any further action is taken on the Westwood Fair, it was suggested, a Mr. J. Wesley Ridday should be consulted, and anyone curious about the identity of a roof rabbit ought to telephone or write him. Ridday concluded that the so-called terror was nothing more than this roof rabbit, which was local slang for a cat. The newspaper editor even added a dry note. "We'd better drop this whole thing. Ridday says a roof rabbit is Felis domestica, and the dictionary tells us that's a cat." So then, the mystery creature purportedly was just a feral cat? That's kind of a letdown. But in some ways it makes sense. Cats do make strange noises, which could account for the screams heard at night. But an ordinary house cat doesn't necessarily align with the description that Sylvester saw in his field that day. It is entirely possible that he saw a deer across the field, which would explain the creature's long neck, white flank, and the ability to leap and run like a deer. But Sylvester was sure it didn't have hooves like a deer, nor a certain devil figure from New Jersey. He was certain it had paws, and was sure it didn't belong to the neighborly monster to the east. "I'm sleeping with a shotgun beside the bed," Sylvester was quoted saying, "and some night when the thing screams, I'm going to shoot it, just to prove it exists and it isn't simply another species of the Jersey Devil." So what then was this strange creature? Was it a monster, or a conflation of seeing a deer run across a field and then later on hearing a cat wailing in the night? Perhaps it was a bobcat. That partly aligns with some of the descriptions as well, but it doesn't explain the long neck. Some posited that the creature must be a panther, but most accounts note that they had been driven to extinction in the region during the 1800s. So just what was the roof rabbit that Irwin referred to, and how did it come to describe members of the cat family? The exact etymology isn't airtight, but the term roof rabbit was actually an old euphemism not for cats themselves, but for the meat of a cat. When settlers arrived in the region from Germany, it most likely was borrowed from the German word Dachhase, literally meaning roof hare. This is because cats roamed rooftops, and, once butchered, their meat resembled rabbit, suggesting that the phrase emerged in Europe during times of famine or siege when desperate sellers passed cat meat off as rabbit. In 19th and early 20th century rural speech in Chester County, roof rabbit seems to also be a folk term used for the nighttime pest blamed for stolen chickens or strange cries. Judging from newspaper accounts, by the 1930s it was also used as both a joking explanation for strange creatures, and its English alliteration may have had more of an attractive ring to it than Dachhase. And so it's entirely possible that the name roof rabbit traveled with immigrants, and also importantly served as a reminder of older survival practices. That helps explain the term, but it may not speak for the multiple sightings of strange creatures in downtown in general in the 1930s. In the decades after World War I, the US saw a huge wave of spiritualism, with lots of people trying to understand loss and connect with the dead. Then came the Great Depression. Hardships, uncertainty, and a hunger for inexpensive escapism became popular. To fill this need, newspapers and pulps fed the public's appetite for the uncanny, and local monsters were woven into local legends. The framework for these legends can also illustrate how culture and beliefs brought over to America syncretized with others. In this way, devils from New Jersey could also be brought over to Chester County via oral tradition and popular media, and then become swirled together with roof rabbits and culture brought over to the region by settlers. When we put everything together in these contexts, it would make sense that a hungry, strange-acting feral animal, a population steeped in spiritualism and Depression-era anxieties, and an eager press could all combine to make for a great story in the newspapers. It just goes to show that sometimes a monster can be a cat on a roof, remembered in the colorful language of the past. History shows us that folklore and culture always migrate from region to region and from language to language, and culture doesn't adhere to borders and it never remains static and unchanged. Traveling culture and syncretism can actually be comfort for those far from home. It's a way of bringing your traditions and culture along for the journey with you, and while you're settling into a new place, it also allows you to have a little bit of your past and home with you always. The bonus part of that process is that you don't have to check your culture at the gate or stash your monsters in the overhead compartment. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this tale.
Don't forget
from
to
Chester
like and
County's
subscribe,
eerie history.
and please check out the other videos in this series.
Don't
if
forget
you're
to
hungry
like
for
and
more.
subscribe, and please check out the other videos in this series if you're hungry